Right, we have got Philip today at Retcon 2024. I'm afraid his brother couldn't make it this year. But you could say we've got the better twin, maybe.
Without a doubt.
Or the worst twin. So I will let him get on with his talk today and hope you enjoy.
Thank you very much. Shall I probably stand? I'll stand. It'll probably be better. Yep, I'm still in frame, am I? Okay, fine. Hi, everybody. Okay, I am going to start by asking if people have come along and seen my talk before. So have people come along here before and seen me do a talk? Yes, couple. Not that many. Okay, right, fine. So because I was wondering how much I should sort of keep from last year, and I took out quite a lot. So maybe that was a mistake, taking out that much. Okay. Anyway, let's just go through what I'm going to talk about. So a little bit about a background, and then I was going to talk to you a little bit about interactive fiction, because that's what I've been doing with Andrew for the last few years. And then I will mention what happened last year. Who was here for last year's? Yeah, okay. Sorry. But then I did want to talk about generative AI, because I was thinking, what can I bring that's new and fresh if you're the same audience as last year and the year before, because I came and did a talk the year before. So then I thought it would be a good idea just to talk to you about generative AI. At the moment, what I find is when I'm out talking to people, everybody's heard of AI is a big thing. And then you go, oh yeah? And then they know little more than that. So I just thought I would show you what we're doing with AI, because I use it so much that I keep getting banned from ChatGPT. It keeps saying that I need to just leave it for an hour before I come back. And our little team, we're all getting the same because we use it too much, way too much. And things like Google, don't use that anymore. Everything's Bing. Just talk to my phone. It answers me, gives me all the information I need. Forget Google. But again, a lot of people are quite surprised at that. Going, hang on a minute, like you have to use Google, surely. It's like, actually, you'd be surprised. Although my wife keeps saying, do you want to just date blooming ChatGPT and Bing? It's Bing. It's the version of well, I've actually got both. You can obviously get Bing just built into your iPhone, or you can get ChatGPT. I use both, and I flip between the two, usually when I've been frozen out of one. Then the generative AI, some of the slides and some of the information I'm using, was actually derived from a university talk that me and Andrew have been doing around the country. So, and a lot of students were always kind of criticizing generative AI. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm just going to show you some stories that we're doing at the moment, and some of the work we're doing at the moment, just to sort of bring you up to speed with what we're doing. And then I can take lots of questions, whether they're about the retro stuff, whether they're about current stuff, generative AI, whatever. So, background. Andrew and I started in the early days, started writing BASIC. It was on a ZX81, wherever Jason is, because I think he said he played around with one of those. And I have to say, it was didn't have a memory pack in the back, which is probably a good thing, because the power stayed on. Because I think if you did get the extra 1K or 2K power pack, it usually fell off. But yeah, you realise very quickly that a ZX81 isn't a very powerful machine, and it can't really do much at all. But it teaches you one important lesson, and I know I use this joke all the time. It teaches you need a better computer. That's what it teaches you. And so we then moved up to a Dragon 32 and wrote the first kind of game that got published, which is Roadrunner, as a type in listing in computer and video games. And then after the added confidence and saving up lots of money and birthday money and Christmas money and all that, managed to move to a BBC Micro, which was the coolest machine. They still are. There's lots down there. They are such cool machines. Not very good for actually selling your games on. In the early couple of years, brilliant machine for selling games on. But after that, the games market seemed to crash, and it all moved towards the Spectrum and the Commodore 64. And we got onto the Amstrad early, and that's where we sold a lot of our games. And whilst at school, we wrote the first line, the second line, and then at the end of sixth form, we were supposed to go off to respective universities, but none of the universities really focused on games. It was always, in fact, not that did they not focus, it was a crime to mention that you were interested in games and you wanted to learn about computers just to use them for games, because that was a crime back then. And if you said that in an interview to try and get into university, you wouldn't have got into your course, quite frankly, because this was an abuse of computing power to use it for entertainment. We didn't see it that way at all. Anyway, we decided to take a year out, and during just at the end of the sixth form, we were starting to learn assembler language, 6502 originally for the BBC, and then Z80 as we moved on to the Amstrad, and then eventually on to Mega Drive / Genesis, because we were doing a lot of stuff for Americans. So that's actually where I stopped. I stopped on the 68,000. Did a couple of games on that, but then I ended up going into management, as they say, as we set a company up. We did have huge success. 46 games, and we got the Guinness World Records for the most prolific 8-bit game developers, which we're quite proud of. And most of them were all right games as well. Some of them not, but always got to start somewhere, haven't you? Why have I got one date there? Because it's this video. I don't know if the sound is going to work on this. Why is it not working? Slow internet? It is on YouTube, and it is reaching out to YouTube, and it's not. But this is. Shall I flip out and find this video, or have you seen this video, or what shall I do? It's not playing. The computer's quite a nice computer, but not sure why that's not playing. I'll just tell you what it is. But basic. Oh no, I didn't. Look, it's full volume. It's just not playing, but the video's not playing. I have to say, what I did was I ended up. Maybe I should have tested this better, but. In the past, I've always done all my presentations in PowerPoint, but now that we're all remote working, our little team is, but a lot of people are these days, is we just moved everything over to Google. So I thought I'll just upgrade this and put it in Google Slides. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to like that video. Anyway, that funny video is me and Andrew, 8:15, on the Saturday show, winning a competition for a not very good game, but clearly they thought it was the best game, and looking quite like we've been rabbits caught in headlights, as it was a live show and you just have to answer what they throw at you. And yes, we won first prize and it was all good fun. And on the going back to school the next day, all the kids, half the kids, because there were two main channels, BBC One or ITV, we were on the BBC, and no, was it Swap Shop or Tiswas was on the other side, so it was 50-50 what people watched. But a lot of kids were going, oh, saw you on telly. But at that point, we sort of became the computer geeks, whiz kids, whatever you want to call it. If the whiz kids of it is nice, and there were lots of derogatory terms, obviously, not being so. So we made all those games, and I could, and in the last year and the previous year, talked about individual games. But actually, I kind of figured that I might be repeating myself, and I'm more than happy to talk about any of these games. But these are all the games. But I just wanted to sort of call out the fact that they're all on a website. And what we did was, in fact, is Andrew Joseph here? Yeah. Andrew Joseph made this website for us, and it's lovely. And we gave him access to all of our sort of development notes and press reviews and screenshots and everything. And he's put together a lovely website which basically shows each one of the games. And in some cases, they're even playable in the website, which is just so cool. And you've even got things like, I wonder if that will actually play. Sorry, Jason, it probably hurts your ears, wherever it is. all the stuff there. So by all means, have a look at the website that Andrew did for us, and it's got all the development notes where they still exist, loads of screenshots, what the press said. You see, you had pretty decent reviews, 20 out of 20 with that one, and I just picked on one randomly. I will close that down. More than happy to take questions on any of these, but I couldn't kind of really work out which ones to talk about that wasn't just a repetition of kind of last year and the year before. So at the end of the 80s, we were obviously having quite a lot of success, as you saw from that previous slide, and we had to decide whether we wanted to join a team, because games were getting bigger as you were going on to the sort of 16-bit and or consoles. We had to decide whether we wanted to join a team or make our own team, and joining a team back then would have meant joining Codemasters. And there were good things about Codemasters, but there were definitely some bad things about Codemasters. So we decided to set our own company up and start employing people ourselves, which initially was called Interactive Studios, but we renamed to Blitz Games. And we ended up employing quite a lot of people. At one point, it was about 250 people. The reason it says there 600 people is because people come and go. And occasionally people sort of say, well, what do you know about interviewing people? It's like, I have interviewed thousands of people, because it ended up in 600 people getting offered jobs, but to get to that number, you have to interview an awful lot of people. And we had some awesome people with us who have gone on to have great careers, and I'm friends with a lot of them still, although there's a lot that I don't know where they are. And when you get to 600, trust me, you can't remember everybody's names either. But I ended up going into management, as I mentioned earlier. So the last thing I did was 68,000. Andrew carried on and learned C, did the engine for PlayStation, the graphic engine for PlayStation, and went on to write things like War Games and Glover and stuff like that. But we were, by that time, employing lots of other people, and they were helping and sitting alongside Andrew, and he was tending to take care of the development side of things while I was taking care of the business side of things. Because trust me, when you start employing 10, 20, 30 people, you need to really be on top of the finances and the business and the contracts, especially when you're dealing with a bunch of sharks, because that's what the games industry was definitely back then. I haven't actually dealt with a lot of the games industry recently. It's cleaned itself up a lot recently, because all the publishers know that we've got the tools for analytics, so we can find out what they really sold and what money's really going through the product. Whereas back in those days, you get all sorts of tricks that the publishers would use to basically screw over the developers. And that was the skill of the publisher, was to screw over the developer most of the time. That's what it felt like. And so staying in business was really, really tough. And even when you got 200 people, everybody kind of thought that, oh, you guys, like, fantastic, everything's going so well. Well, they clearly haven't seen the bank account, and they haven't seen how precarious everything was. And that was always the case, pretty much with most developers as well, which is why when we got to about 2010 and the digital stuff started kicking in and the whole market was getting a bit, a lot of turbulence in the marketplace, that a lot of the big developers just went bust. They either got purchased, great for those who did, and the ones who didn't basically got left behind and went bust. And unfortunately, that's what happened to Blitz Games. We managed to hang in there a little bit longer and got to 2013 before we went bust, which was very, very sad. Sad for lots of people. There were a few silver linings, though. One, we're all very, very proud of all of the work that we all did over the years. Lots of people had great careers through their time at Blitz, created many games they're very proud of. Hopefully the public were very proud of playing, or enjoyed playing all those games. And we then had to reinvent ourselves, and a lot of the employees had to go and find new jobs and reinvent themselves. I would say that most of them did, and most of them carried on to sort of within weeks finding great jobs and carrying on, and they're all very pleased. And there's not that many people who look back on it as like a terrible thing. I mean, it was a terrible thing when it happened, on the day it happened. but most people now kind of look back on it as like, I really enjoyed my time there, and I really enjoy my new job, and so it was fine. We carried on, Andrew and I, to take a small group of those people and set up a new company, Radiant Worlds, to do a game that we just started at Blitz, it all fell apart, which was an online multiplayer adventure game, which, if you had to say what genre it's in, it's kind of halfway between Minecraft and Fortnite. And it looks very nice. I did have a video of it last year. I haven't got a video now. Go to YouTube, look up Sky Saga. It was awesome. We were really enjoying it. Unfortunately, again, the way contracts are set up and the way the legals work in the industry, the company paying us decided to stop funding with 1 month's notice, and so that all went south as well. But it lasted for a few years, and we all enjoyed it. We were all proud of what we created, and those people have all moved on and done lots of other things. Half the team went to now Facebook. So in Leamington Spa, we now have a Facebook division, working on the metaverse. So there's lots more stuff you'll see from them in the coming years. And the other half went to Rebellion, and they've set up their office. And so you probably know Rebellion and some of the games they do, like Sniper Elite, and they're all having fantastic time at both companies and doing really well. We did produce a lot of games, as it says there, 72 different titles, 159 different games if you say, if you count the platform variations as well. And with this, Andrew Joseph also jumped in and made us an awesome website, all about that. So again, everything, all the materials we had, the reviews, the screenshots, development notes and everything, Andrew went and put onto a website for us. And it's, me and Andrew like to look back at the work we all did, but we also did it for the team, because the team are very proud of having made all these games. And so they can look back on them and pick on any game and see all about it. So there's things like Glover, which is considered very retro, War Games, and then it just goes through all the different games. Fusion Frenzy, anybody remember Fusion Frenzy? Yeah. Cool game, yeah. It does seem to do very well, and it's very fondly remembered. We did work with Disney and Mattel and Hasbro, and Sony was Bad Boys, but I'm just trying to think what the label is. Is it? No, I can't think. It's one of the Sony labels. Pac-Man World 3 with Namco, Bratz, all of these kind of games. So an awful lot of games. Again, well, as time goes on, they're less retro for this audience, but also I didn't know which particular game to pick on, so I'll gladly, if people are keen to pick up later on questions about any particular game, we can kind of go back to them. Right, so last year, Andrew and I decided to take a leap of faith and try and do something a little bit dangerous, and we talked about the process of making games. So you have to work out kind of who is it you're making that game for? Girls, boys, young, old, whatever. Are they gamers? Are they just casual players? What is it for? Sort of what platform? Back in the early days, it was things like the Amstrad Spectrum and Commodore 64, so that gives you loads and loads of restrictions on memory and processing speed and what graphics you can put on the screen and everything. When's it for? We always try to get games out as quickly as possible because times move on very, very quickly. And with the 8-bit stuff, we always set ourselves a goal of 1 month. 1 month per game. Should be very fast, which I look back on it now, and that's crazy. And I know the people at the time were, when it came to Amstrad and Spectrum and Commodore 64 games, were taking 6 months each. But we didn't know any better, so we just said month each. And, well, you may have played some of those games because they were all approximately a month. And obviously, what genre is it? Is it an adventure or racer or shooter or whatever? So, and then we go through, once you've decided all of those things and you know all those things, actually working out how to make the games. We then this is last year, went through some case studies of designing and making Grand Prix Simulator, designing and making Fantastic Dizzy, and designing and making Sky Saga. And then we set ourselves up for a failure by saying, in the audience, what game would you like us to make in the next 4 hours following that principle? And we then went away and locked ourselves away in a room downstairs and tried to knock out this game, which had been designed by our audience. Anybody remember that event? Yes. Was anybody responsible for the concept that's still sitting here? Pardon? Yeah, they went for Argos. You're a storekeeper. You're working in an Argos store, and people come in and ask for crazy items, like unicorns and stuff. Yeah, anyway, not to worry. We did our best. Our best wasn't good enough, given 4 hours. It was just, we definitely set ourselves too much. We did show what we made. There was something running. Over the next day or two, we did actually tidy it up, and it did run, if anybody played it. Sorry. Let's move on. So since then, we still believe, even that despite that there is actually a need for an interactive media editor and player. So at the moment, podcasts are very, very successful, very popular all around the world, every subject. But it's only an audio file at the end of the day, and it can do very little more than an audio file. And then you've got things like YouTube, very good for videos, can't do anything else kind of thing. And we still believe that there is a better solution that covers everything, and it should be interactive, and it should cover every type of media. And with the advent of AI, it can do loads of other cool stuff, like automatically know where it is, automatically know what language it's supposed to be in, and loads of other stuff. We believe there's still a big opportunity there, and we are still chasing it down, although I have to say 3.5 years later, we definitely have no market success, but we do have a product, and we're still working with it. And the idea is that anybody can create as easily as a podcast or a YouTube video or a PowerPoint, an interactive, rich media experience that can then be distributed on every single device and will continue to work into the future. That's still the goal, that's still the plan, and we're still cracking on with it. But we know that it needs to be better. Both the player and the editor. It needs to be faster, slicker, it has to have more features, and it's got to have a great library of content. We're working on all of those things. Whilst we are working on all those things, we have actually turned the editor off. So if anybody went to RichCast today and actually said, I'm actually going to go and make my own story, we've turned the editor off while we're making some huge improvements. One of the things I would say is that what we had last year and what we kind of got now is like a proof of concept, a kind of just an example of what's kind of possible. But when you've seen that and you've played with it, you realise what all the bits are that are missing. And so we're doing a lot of work on replacing all the bits that are missing. But we're still, whilst doing the programming and the design, we are still kind of putting out titles with what we can at the moment, so that at least there is a catalogue of titles being built up in the background. And we're not doing a big push on it yet, because we know the version that's coming probably October-ish. I was going to say September, maybe October-ish. We know the version that's coming, and we know how much better it's going to be, so we're not going to bother pushing it or promoting it until then. And we're not going to charge any money, so absolutely everything I talk about is free. So it is a bit of a promo, but it's also, everything's free anyway. So, and we hope that one day, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years' time, we will compete with podcasts and YouTube, but it's kind of quite a big goal, but quite ambitious goal, but that's fine. So I said that we'd done this talk about interactive fiction, because that's obviously what we're playing with at the moment. Creating an interactive media platform can be used for anything, but the most obvious use is interactive fiction. So we did this talk at a university. I've jigged it around to make it a little bit more suitable for this audience, and also talk about the use of AI. So, narrative in entertainment. You obviously got linear narrative, so your likes of your Disney, your Netflix, your regular movies, your regular TV series, and all that kind of stuff. And then on the right-hand side, you've got your action games, which have some story in them, but it's more about the action. And then in the middle, you've got your interactive narrative stories. And that's more the area that sort of we are focused on talking about today. Brief history of interactive fiction. See, a bit more retro stuff. Anybody remember the Ian Livingstone Death Trap Dungeon and the those books? Anybody read those? I'm going to put my hand down because we knew nothing about them at the time. So the first we came into it was Zork. Our friend had Zork on his dad's Apple IIe. So that's how we started playing interactive adventures. And then on the BBC, there were great things like Philosopher's Quest and a bunch of titles that Acorn Soft put out, which were really good fun. Those people who had Spectrums would have seen Lords of Midnight, which was hugely successful on Spectrum. In the arcades, they had an absolutely mind-blowing arcade cabinet with a laser disc of Dragon's Lair, and that was kind of interactive fiction cartoon. More than anything, we just wanted to get it mentioned in here because it was awesome, and it was, yeah, very, very cool. When it comes to interactive fiction, you can't talk about this subject without mentioning Monkey Island. Monkey Island was awesome, and it also introduced comedy properly. And me and Andrew were always saying that one of the problems of computer games is, if you look at other entertainment, comedy's a big genre. You look at computer games, and it just wasn't. And then Monkey Island came along, and it's like this was the first time people had actually managed to get some comedy into games. And it's something me and Andrew always wanted to do, was get comedy into games. We tried a few jokes in Dizzy, and they were okay, but it's not as far as we wanted to go. Obviously, Fable, Lionhead, and I'm now coming up to sort of modern day, well, a little bit history still, but we're getting up to the Fable, the Walking Dead, and then on mobile phones, you're getting a lot of interactive fiction, and I had to just pick one, so I picked Episode, but there's an enormous number of interactive stories on mobile phones. It's a very big genre. So, when it comes to interactivity, because that's obviously what computer games are all about, there's a bit of an evolution going on. We started with dials and a single button, and then we went to more buttons and took the dial away for a while, and then we moved on to joysticks, more buttons, like getting crazy number of buttons, and then putting in joysticks and buttons and touchscreens. At the other end of the spectrum, we had the keyboards being used, obviously. Mice kicked in when gaming on PC became popular. More advanced controls. Then the Wiimote came along, crazy device, but it was proved very, very popular with people. It took a little bit getting your head around it when you were designing games, as did the Kinect bar. Yeah, that was fun trying to design for that. But we did lots of games for Kinect. I think we did 8 or 9 games for that. And we did something like 15 or 16 for the Wii. The Switch, obviously, great machine and everything. Buttons, joysticks, touchscreen. And then obviously onto the mobile phones, where you've pretty much only got the touchscreen. But they do actually have mics on them, so you could talk to games, but not enough people are using that feature. We think it's really, really cool, being able to sort of talk to a phone and for it to understand you and talk back. And I mean, Siri, that came out in about 2009. It's been around a long time and proven that it can listen to you, but it's not really been used enough for games, we don't think. And we actually think when you're talking narrative games, interactive games, that really players should be talking to characters and then characters should be talking straight back. So that was one of the goals that we wanted to also achieve, is that this is how you interact with your games in the future. Yeah, as I've mentioned, we're making this product called RichCast. It's rich media, but like podcasts, but with rich media. So that's why it's called RichCast. It's basically you just lay out a flow diagram of what you want to happen, whether you want it to be visual tiles, audio tiles, text tiles, logic tiles, put them all down in the right order, and then it plays through. It really is just a drag and drop, and you can put together any media you want. But I'm not really here to sort of say what that's all about. I wanted to talk to you about the actual content rather than the actual mechanics behind it. So a lot of people have been very negative towards generative AI and AI generally, and the media loves to pick on the bad things of AI with not really covering the good stuff enough, which we think is really sad, because really it's amazing technology and it can do so much good in the world. Obviously, I'm going to focus on creative in this. I'm not going to talk about medicine and all that kind of stuff that it can do. So, by the way, I made that picture, obviously with generative AI, but I liked it. I had to think of what picture could I do? A little robot with a paintbrush with a big splash of colour. Give me that picture. That's how cool it is. So where is the generative AI useful in the games industry? We've sort of said that what we're doing is you can kind of replace the programming by just a drag and drop language, and that's what we're working on, but you still need all the great content. But we're using generative AI to create dialogue, scenarios, names for things. I say names, and you might think, oh, it doesn't take long to come up with a few names of characters or places. You'd be surprised. It's like you just get mind blanks. It's like, right, I've got this really great story. Oh, I've got 3 characters. Oh, what are they going to be called? It just kind of becomes a blocker very, very quickly. When you've got generative AI, you go, give me 10 popular boys' names aged between this, and they come from Texas. That one sounds good, right? Move on, and it's just that quick. And of course, so that's generating the dialogues, the scenarios, the names, even actually what you're going to do and write a story about. I mean, I say I use ChatGPT a lot, but I mean, things like if somebody turned around and said, write me a story, and it's got to be really, really popular for this demographic, first thing I do is ChatGPT, what's really popular in this demographic? Can you give me a few ideas? Can you give me a few lines? Can you give me a few characters, places, scenarios? And I then just start picking through, going, oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that, I like that, I like that. And then I just take it, put it all together, and then say, give me a bit more on this, give me a bit more on that. What about scenarios here, here, here? That's what my day job is these days, which is why I keep burning out ChatGPT, burning through all the sort of resources. The visuals, you've probably seen generating graphics. I just said how I generated that picture. Give me a friendly little robot with a paintbrush and a big splash of colour, and you get pictures like that. You don't get pictures like that first time. You end up having to tweak your commands, and I would say you could sit there generating a picture like that. It might take you an hour, and you might have to put in, I don't know, 20 requests to Midjourney is our favourite at the moment, but that can change very easily to get exactly the picture you want. Sometimes you have to tweak it a little bit afterwards, or to create it in several layers and pull the bits together. Sometimes you have to go into a program called Photor and just mask bits out and then say, could you just regenerate that hat? Could you just move that third hand? Where that come from? But it's all right, because there's programs that do that for you with generative AI. Photor's awesome for doing that sort of thing. And then there's audio, and you can kind of generate audio, the background ambience. You just describe the scene, what you want. It's a busy Tokyo street in the evening, blah, 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 a few car horns, whatever, and it kind of gives you a soundtrack. And you can do the same with sound effects, music, voices. Again, you still have to sit there going, what you like, what you don't like, how it's all going to sound together. And actually, audio's still got some way to go. It feels a bit weird that the visuals have moved faster than the audio. I still don't get that, but I still don't completely understand how generative AI works. I don't think any of us do in this room, do we? It's just magic. I think so too. That's why I love using it. Anyway, but generative AI can be very emotive. Some people think it takes away control. Some people think that it replaces years of learning a specific skill. It plagiarizes people's work, and it can't really be truly creative. That's what people say, and next few slides I'm going to just talk about those things. But the thing is, the AI genie is out of the bottle. I mean, you can't put it back, you can't take it away. It is here, and people are going to use it. So kind of embrace it. And again, some of this is said because me and Andrew prepared some of this for students on games courses. Change can be uncomfortable. Yeah, we know that, we understand that. And especially when people have spent ages learning skills. And we get that as well. We've been making games for over 4 decades. I am not going to read every single one of those bullet points, but I'm going to tell you, and you can just look at them yourself, and hopefully they're big enough to read yourself. Every one of those items, when people talked about them for the first time, everybody said, that will never happen. Never. Every single one of those things have obviously happened. Things change. We're in a fast-changing world. So you can pick out any of those. I have to say that I'm going to pick a couple. Smoking in the office, trust me, in the 80s, every programming office, everybody was chain smoking. It was horrible because me and Andrew did not smoke. I've never smoked a single cigarette. And all programming offices were just a smoke chamber. And they were horrible and stinky and smelly, and everything got very crusty and horrible very quickly. All of those things. You'll never, ever get 3D. Well, you never get games on a PC. That'll never happen. 3D games will never happen on consoles. Why would you do research on YouTube? That's a crazy idea. Just all of those things. Sega will always be in consoles. It will always be Nintendo and Sega. Always. That's a written. Yeah, that didn't happen, did it? And so, yeah, we just have to accept the change happens, and you've kind of got to be on the right side of change. So, talk about being on the right side of change. I love my farmer analogy because I can use it in any industry to anybody, anywhere, and everybody gets it. Farmer and so this is, think of it like your farmer with a tractor versus the farmer with a horse. Back at the turn of last century, a lot of farmers were very, very resistant to this newfangled machine that was coming along, and I'll stick the way it's always been done. Me and my plough and my horse, it's always been done this way, it will always be done this way. And then a few farmers went and got tractors, and very, very quickly, it all changed. And actually, I put ×5 on there. I was talking to a bunch of people at a round table, and one of the people in the room was a farmer, and he said, I think you'll find it's about 25 times more efficient than a man with a horse. And I was like, yeah, it probably is now, but I was kind of thinking back in the era when the tractor had just been invented. And just in the same way, the tractor is a force multiplier, so is AI. It just enables you to be able to do more, but you have to learn the new tools. So instead of learning how to look after a horse, you're learning how to look after a tractor, which is a bit of a different skill. And that's the thing with AI. It is a bit of a different skill to now use this tool as opposed to your Photoshop or whatever you were using before. And each year, that multiplier is going to increase, as it did with the tractor. A century ago, it was 5 times more efficient, and now it's 25 times more efficient. The same is going to happen with AI, but it's actually going to happen quicker. So each year, the person who knows the AI tools is going to get faster and faster and faster versus the person who's not using AI. And I put Darwinian here. The people that thrive are the ones that adapt the fastest. We all have to just adapt, like it or not. Now, I know that in my position, I don't have to be scared. And I understand when I'm talking to younger people that this is a little bit scary. And I'm really sorry about that, but change is scary. But if you don't change, you're the ones that are going to not be able to get work. If you are the people who embrace AI and embrace using it and enjoy using the tools, you're the ones that are going to get the work in the future. That's the way it's going to work. So, bad things. AI, I did say I'll talk about emotive. I know you're a retro audience. You're okay with me talking about all this generative AI and modern stuff. I kind of figured it was a little bit different, but equally I kind of figured that a lot of you probably heard my retro talk from last year and the year before, so I thought I'd talk a bit about this and show you then how we're using it ourselves. Yeah, it will reduce employment opportunities for the people who don't embrace it. The guy with the horse is not going to get the job versus the guy with the tractor. That's going to happen. So we just have to accept that. AI is accused of plagiarism. Oh, the newspapers love that one. Yeah, so do humans plagiarize all the bloody time. But it's also at the control of a human. So if the human with the AI plagiarizes, you can blame the human as well. It's not just the AI decided to do it on its own. And humans without AI plagiarize. It's a thing. What humans with AI can do is they can do it faster and cheaper, very easily. And this is the one that really, really scares me, but there's nothing I can do about it, and the genie's out of the bottle. It's got a potential for manipulation of wide populations with deep fakes and fake news. This is the one that really worries me. Hopefully the Americans are not stupid enough to vote for Trump, but with this, they might. And that's what really does worry me, that a lot of people will put a lot of money into making the American population vote for Trump with deep fakes and fake news. And there's going to be a tidal wave of this stuff hit as we get close to the elections. That really worries me. Sadly, there's nothing I can do about it. If there was, I would be doing it. However, good things. It does amplify human endeavour. It reduces burdensome work, it increases productivity and lowers costs generally, and in science and medicine, it is a game changer and it accelerates all the breakthroughs. And I'm hoping as I get older and frailer and everything, that they'll have fixed a lot of the problems that I might end up getting, hopefully before I get there. And I think they probably will, to be fair. I mean, the advancements in science and medicine is just phenomenal at the moment, and will continue to accelerate. And why have I got a blank slide? I have no idea. Yes, just a little example. It just took ages to load. I think may have been the problem with the last video, to be fair. This little video is just a bit mind-blowing to even those who have been playing with AI for ages. This is Sora, which is being developed by Google, I believe, although I can see an OpenAI logo there, so maybe it's OpenAI. This is giving text commands as a prompt to create a video. So the AI creates a video from a text prompt. So all they're doing is writing the text and saying, generate me that scene. I do hope this runs okay speed. It'll be disappointing if not. It is OpenAI, sorry. No modification afterwards. That's the command. That's what the AI generated. A litter of golden retriever puppies playing in the snow. Generative AI made that. You know I said magic? I don't understand. I don't understand how that's possible. Oh, he's so cute. You saw the text prompt? That's the video. There's a text prompt. And they're pretty cute too. Oh my God, that's a big command prompt. Yeah, it's an okay video though. So from that command prompt, it generated that video. How? Just how? You might think it's weird he's got a knitted hat, but the command prompt did say he's got a knitted hat. So you've only got the human to blame for that one. He generated all of that. Just how? Storm in a teacup. I love trying to predict the future. I never thought this stuff would be possible by now. It's just... Look for those third legs and those third hands. People watch this video and they go, I can see that's fake. It's like, You can see that's fake, obviously, but it's supposed to be. I can see a third leg there. Isn't that just incredible? Right, I could carry on doing this for ages because I think there's a few more. Oh, isn't it cutie? Oh, don't touch a flame. All right, anyway, that's the kind of stuff you can do with generative AI. So how are we applying that? Well, we were making a platform all about putting media together, whether it's sound or music, audio, visuals, videos. And so we thought, well, we can use all of this kind of stuff. So that's what we've been playing with and using it to sort of put stuff together. So we can, as I mentioned earlier, we can create the scenarios, come up with lots of concepts. ChatGPT, please help me with that. We can come up with the characters, personalities, places, descriptions. We can ask it to do the research for us, come up with relevant plot lines, details, all of that kind of stuff. Come up with some dialogue for these characters. And bang through. And there's a little prompt on the side, just using Copilot, which, by the way, is built into Windows now, bottom corner now, free for everybody, which is pretty cool. And there's an example. I just said, look, I've got to write a fiction story. Can you just give me 5 ideas for teen fiction stories? And then I can kind of say, oh, I quite like Rift Riders. Let's go down that channel and then play around with that. It's as easy as that. When it comes to creating the visuals, you can do backgrounds, you can do characters, you can do objects and scenes, you can make animations, and now even videos. You saw those videos. I mean, how bloody cool is that? It is like being an art director now, and not actually having to be a good artist yourself, but being able to direct almost a team of people. But everything's so instant as well. So here's my scene on the right-hand side. Draw me a picture of a vampire capturing a young lady with a spooky castle on a cliff in the background, lit by moonlight with light rain. Certainly, here's what you'd like. That's a Copilot one. Try it yourself. It's absolutely incredible. I'm sure you probably have had a bit of a play with it yourself. And if you haven't, you should. It's just mind-blowing. It is pure magic. Then creating the audio, do the ambience, the audio, music, voice actors. We thought this would move along a lot quicker. One of the reasons we actually started RichCast during COVID, like when there was a proper lockdown, one of the things we predicted was that you'd be able to get AI voice actors very, very easily through all of this. It's taken ages, but about 6 months ago, there were a few breakthroughs, and now we use AI voices for everything, and you're going to hear a few in a minute. I have to say the music's still a bit iffy, sound effects, ambience, it's like they're getting there, but we still quite often go out and get download off free websites, sound effects and stuff, because it's pretty easy to do. So use stock audio. So are people still in creative control? Yeah. They are. They're in charge of it because they dictate and decide exactly what's wanted. They are able to just motor through it and get rid of all the burdensome work that takes so long. So it's a little bit like being a head designer, an art director, and a sound supervisor, all in one, and it does it all for you, and it does it really well. So here's some examples of what we've been playing with and making. So you probably all know the story of Anne Frank. This was made almost a year ago, so this is already starting to look a little bit dated, but I'll kind of show you what it looks like. Can we get to hear this?
My name is Otto Frank. You might not know my name, but you will definitely know my daughter's.
Give the diary a name and it will help if you ever feel sad or afraid. What do you want to call it?
The name Kitty.
We can't leave until we know we are safe to do so. Sadly, I don't think that will be anytime soon.
Friday, March 24th, 1944. Dear Kitty, I often go up to Peter's room after dinner nowadays to breathe in the fresh evening air.
Try to imagine a world without these walls. A world where my parents and
These
I
are
could
voice
roam
actors
freely.
you're hearing. So real people on Fiverr that we kind of commissioned to do this. And that's because the voice acting hadn't got there technology-wise, but it's kind of is there now. And you'll see some more examples. By the way, all of this is free, now playable on all devices. Just go to richcast.com.
My name is Otto Frank. You might not know my name, but
Next
you will
slide, please.
definitely know my daughter.
So coming up to, so big Star Wars fans, me and Andrew, pretty obvious really, let's be honest. We're growing up in the sort of late 70s, early 80s, how could you not be? And so we just thought we'll do a May the 4th kind of little title. It took 25 man days to do with just me and Andrew working on using generative AI. So about half the dialogue was generated AI. With anything else, my fault. AI art, I did some of it, Andrew did some of it. 100% AI voices, it just took care of it. We didn't, humans weren't involved because they just take the script and go bang. The open source audio and music, so open source, so pulling it down off the internet from open source sources. AI generated animating heads, that's 100% AI. And then we put it all together inside RichCast. And again, you can just play this if you want.
The name's Stan Yolo, frontman of the Killer Beats, the greatest band the universe has ever seen. We've got more grooves than a Zentarian has toes on their hands. We're catchier than the wheeze-worm epidemic that wiped out half of Lumina Prime. Embark on a treacherous adventure to the darkest corners of space as we sign up for This Galaxy Has Talent and try our hand at stand-up comedy.
I'm not sure why you're telling me this, sir. I am just a service droid who cleans the toilets here. Wait, I thought you said you were the front man of a band? Why are you doing stand-up comedy in a talent show?
Because, well, you'll just have to play the darn story and find out.
All AI voices.
Starring Lizzie Stardust, Grizzly B, Psycho, the angry talent show judge, a bunch of quack troopers, whatever this guy is, and Charlene the Wrathgore. Play our story for free right now, only on RichCast. May the farce be with you.
Okay, enough of the toilet sounds. Yeah, so anyway, we did that. And then whilst doing that, so this will be April, I thought that maybe it would be quite cool to interview famous historical characters and just ask them lots of questions. And basically the way ChatGPT works is it's got the resource of the internet and all the research that's out there, so it kind of knows their personality, it knows their views, it knows kind of all about them, so you can kind of ask them questions. And I thought, how cool is this? And it took me, well, that was mid-April I came up with the concept. All of those are finished. They're all done. You can play them right now. So you can actually speak to these historical characters and ask them questions. We've created, using AI, we've created their likenesses, their voices. I have to say that some people might say, is that exactly the likeness? Well, with people like Cleopatra, it's actually pretty difficult to get proper, authentic colour pictures of what she looked like. But you also have to pick what age as well. So there's a couple of statues out there which you can use as reference. With people like Einstein, it's a little bit easier, but then you have to sort of pick a decent pose, because there's some really shitty poses out there for him. So you have to go through. Florence Nightingale, there's various pictures of her during her life, and we had to sort of pick one that didn't look like she's completely dead, because there was one that looked like she's almost dead, and then there's a very, very famous one where she's in her mid-30s. So we had to sort of blend and make a picture somewhere in between. But yeah, so I went through and I wrote all these, and Andrew did a lot of the graphics, and we've got a couple of other people in our team. We're a tiny team. There's 5 of us all together, and 2 of those are coders. So this is what we've done, and here's just one example, but you can play these on your smartphone right now if you wanted, or after this if you want, although you should be listening to the other speakers, obviously.
Guten Tag. My name is Albert Einstein. You may know me from my famous equation E = mc squared, which changed our understanding of energy and mass. I have exciting news. There's a new interactive story called Einstein Genius of the Cosmos out now on RichCast. Through the marvel of pioneering AI tools, my voice has been meticulously reproduced from actual recordings made during my lifetime. meaning you can have a conversation with the real me. You can ask me questions, test your knowledge, and explore the many facets of my life. This story will give you a unique opportunity to delve into the workings of my mind and understand what made my contributions to science so profound. Join me, and let's embark on a journey through the cosmos of knowledge and discovery together.
It's fun asking them all sorts of interesting questions. Unfortunately, some of them are quite scary, so I decided to just ask some modern questions. So I asked Winston Churchill how he would deal with Putin. It's in there and you can play it. It's just like, so you can see what the answers are. I did think when I asked that question, I'm not sure I'm going to use this answer because I don't want any kind of Russian mafia coming around my house. But actually, it was incredibly diplomatic, and it was done, ChatGPT, the way I framed it is you have to answer as if you are Winston Churchill with all the knowledge and research you have on Winston Churchill. And it came back and it was mind-blowing. You'd honestly believe that was Winston Churchill, the way what he wrote. And it's like, bloody hell, that's good. So it's in there. And with Albert Einstein, I asked him, and I'm sorry if there's a bit of a running theme on this one, but I asked him how he felt about the power of nuclear bombs that exist in this world today. And he gives a very nice description of how explosive they are, how they're measured in megatons, and the Hiroshima was only a 15 kiloton bomb. They're now only measured in megatons because they're 200, 300, 400 plus, which is just insane. And then my final question to him on that particular chain of thought was, how do you feel about the fact that Putin could easily press and release some of these? Yeah, he's got something to say about that, which is really interesting. So I invite you to have a look at that.
Guten Tag. My name is Albert.
Where's that picture gone? There it is. Gosh, it's a slow internet. We're still doing stories in the background. So one of our guys wrote this a few months ago, and it's just a little bit like a Stranger's Thing type story, just a mystery of disappearing kids. But we can knock these out really, really quickly because we've got the tools, and the world's going to be given the tools when we've got it at the right stage.
They don't seem to really be concerned about whoever this car belongs to. I don't even know who they are anymore, but something doesn't seem right here. Weird. The headlights are on, so whoever left this did so in a hurry.
Let's try the door first.
Nope, locked tight. That's not gonna budge.
This is just a quick recording as
maybe the keys are somewhere around.
I can't see any keys anywhere.
In fact, this was actually only recorded last night, and the guy just said, I haven't got time to make a video. I'm just going to play it and record.
I guess we should write down the number plate.
883 JDH. I'll keep that noted down. You never know when it will be useful. My choices seem to be force my way in. Or I could ring the car registry with this registration plate and see who it belongs to.
I don't know how long his video was. He dropped this in himself last night.
Window.
I'm going to move on.
The car just sat here.
You get
no
the
one
idea.
around. They don't seem to really be concerned.
And I showed the Winston Churchill to somebody the other day who basically said, it's nice, but it's not really suitable for kids, is it? So about 2 weeks ago, I started this as Andrew Joseph will test. Where is Andrew? He's gone. Is he gone? Oh, right. Anyway, basically, I was just talking to him about it, going, we've got this idea to do these time adventures. So that was now finished. Done. So you basically are time-traveling kids, Charlie or Ava, with Professor Kronos, who basically you tell him in the lab where you want to, who you want to visit, and the first one's finished, which is going back and visiting Queen Victoria, and she tells you all about her life growing up in Kensington, buying Buckingham Place, a mansion, Buckingham Palace, and then have overhauled. Right in front of it, I didn't know all these things, right in front of it, so it used to be a horseshoe, and there was Marble Arch was standing in front of it, so they had to move Marble Arch first and then build all that front section in, all in her. There's obviously lots of stuff about the Empire in there, meeting Albert dying, all that, and basically it's all done in kid talk, with her being very, very wanting to answer the questions that the kids are answering, but in their kind of language. So we made this so that it could just be used in schools. Everything's completely free. Because it really doesn't take us long to do. And it's just nice to sort of be able to do stuff. So yeah, you can learn all about Queen Victoria now. And that multiple times. There we go, that gave you thinking time. If you've got any questions, be they retro or generative AI or anything. Any questions? I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it fascinating. Me and Andrew have always tried to sort of be on the cutting edge. Which back in the days of the ZX81 and the Spectrum, that was the cutting edge, what we were doing. This is now the cutting edge now, and all the way along we've tried to be on the cutting edge of anything that's happening, be it the Wiimote or the Kinect, all the consoles. We were first onto PlayStation. We released the very first Wii game in the world from a third party, was SpongeBob Krusty Krab. That we just love being on the front edge of everything, and it's done us okay. Oh, okay. John. Yeah.
Well, anyway, but fair play in terms of just demonstrating and giving such an incredible example of AI being used
Properly, nicely, in a creative way.
It is just a tool.
Yeah.
And when used like that, that's a phenomenal way of empowering ability.
Those history lesson stories, if you ask somebody without AI tools how long it would take to write a book and put it into schools or whatever, you're talking sort of a year project plus publishing time plus distribution. If you named a character now, I could have it into every school in the world next Friday. I could do that. It's not a problem with these tools. And it's much more engaging, by the way. Sorry, it's just way more engaging. Yeah. I mean, most of this stuff is free as well. That's the other amazing thing. RichCast, when it eventually gets out to the world and we've cleaned everything up, one of the reasons we turn the editor off is we're making such big overhauls, but also we keep putting bugs in there. And if we accidentally delete people's work, which we don't mean to, they're going to be furious. If they spent a week, 2 weeks working on something diligently, and then because of a bug, it all gets lost or screwed up or whatever, they're going to be furious with us. And also, we know it can be so much better, and we know we've got the designs already. I'm also I write the designs, I also do the finances, I also do the legals, I also do, as well as writing stories, and generating some characters, and a few other things. We know what it can be, and we almost want people, we don't want to promote it heavily, so we're not promoting it heavily, because we know. I mean, things like at the moment, the load up time, if you hit one of those QR codes, if it works, you can point your phone at it. If you point your phone at that, it'll take about a minute before you're playing. We can get that down under 2 seconds. We've got the technology, we know exactly how to do it. And that's something we want to sort of, before we start promoting it, we want to show. Using that QR code, you're in instantly, pretty much. He's got to see if it works. Should work. There's a few other QR codes through here as well. Has that one got a QR code on the screen? No. Should have put a QR code on that one. There's Anne Frank. You play Anne Frank. Anyway, yes, hello.
So it's often commented generative AI does a pretty reasonable job of writing code. I'm wondering if you're using it to help you code.
So I'm not the one coding, but I've asked my 2 coders how much they're using it, and they've said it probably getting close to doubling their speed in the last year from what they used to write to how fast they can write now. And they said it's all about predictive text. So at the moment, when you're writing just on your phone and you're writing emails and stuff, it kind of predicts the end of the word, or it predicts the next few words. Well, the code base they're using, and I don't know what they're using, but anyway, they basically said it will just finish the end of lines, but also do multiple lines quite often, and quite often it guesses it right. And they go, you just filled in like 3 or 4 lines. Yeah, actually, that's what I was going to write.
And just to follow on from that, to connect it to the retro stuff, you know, have you come across any, retro or modern games written for old systems using generative AI?
No, I haven't. I haven't actually kind of seen. As I say, I'm quite busy these days. I've been writing these stories. I've been doing the design. I've been doing. Plus, I've got a life outside of turning the computer on, and I haven't actually seen. I haven't seen loads of really good examples of people using AI creatively. To be fair.
I've asked it to write some simple games in Amiga Basic, and it works.
Yeah. I tried getting a BBC Basic Pong ball, because one of the first things me and Andrew ever tried sort of doing on every computer we had was, actually before ZX81 we did have like a bat and ball kind of binatone tennis, and so every time we got a computer, the first thing we go is, can we bounce a ball around the screen? And so when the AI programming came up, I was like, okay, fine, you can program for me. Right, pretend you're a BBC Micro, write me a bouncing ball around the screen. And it did, yeah, I did it. It's like, oh, and then I go, oh, make bounce 3 or 4 balls and make them all different colours. Slow them down, make them random speeds actually. And it does it. And it's like, it is magic. It really is magic. And I'm kind of so excited by it. I understand when I'm talking to younger people, it's also a little bit scary as well. But I say to everybody, like, you just got to embrace this stuff. Don't be scared of it. Embrace it. I have to say, when we were at school, me and Andrew, people actually feared computers. And they always said, hey, it'll take our jobs and all this kind of stuff. It just changes jobs. I mean, so we started sort of programming on computers and typing and stuff. And back in those days, our mum worked as a secretary where she had to learn shorthand, do shorthand, go away, type a letter, go and show it to her boss. Her boss will point out several errors. She goes back, completely retypes the whole bloody letter. It's like not just fix the typo or just change it a little bit. And it can take half a day just to write a letter from your boss saying something. Now the boss just types himself. It's like, oh, hang on, just type it yourself. And actually, by the way, yes, I do this myself. I just use ChatGPT to do my emails and my letters and stuff. And I was just telling John this morning that, was it John? No, it was Chris, how I was asked to do a contract the other day for somebody. And I just said to ChatGPT, well, there's the email thread. Please create the contract for me. And you've got to remember that I've been in business since mid-80s. Every time you ask a lawyer to create a contract for you, you have to get the draft, you look at it and you go, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. The cleanest contract that has ever come back was ChatGPT. And I got it back and was like, Jesus. Nope. Can't fault that. I sent it over to the client. Contract signed. Yeah, it does, absolutely. That's why humans still needed. Thank God. Yeah, so actually, in our credits, so if you go and play any of those titles, in the credits it actually says a lot of this was generated with AI. If you find any mistakes, please let us know immediately and we will fix. And you know how long it takes to make a fix? Immediately. And by the way, that fix goes to everybody instantly. So one of the things I did do a couple of times is I actually got my script and I fed it from one to the other. So I went from ChatGPT and put it into, it wasn't Bing because it would have been the same. I put it into one of the others to fact check it, but it came back, it was clean. Because I basically asked one to check the other, but they were on different databases. Is it the Gemini, I think it was, that I asked it to check, and it came back and said there are no errors. And I was like, okay. I mean, I know you're both referencing the same place. But the other thing is, it's a little bit like that plagiarism, okay? If you go and ask professors and school teachers, are there any errors in your books? They'll all go, well, yeah. And it's like, but you've been teaching this for the last 20 or 30 years from these books. And it's like, yeah, but we kind of know there are errors in them, but we just live with it. So at least we have the advantage that when an error has happened, we can fix it. And yeah, I understand that lots of school books have errors in them, but you can't really change it. Once you've gone to print, it's too late. They're out there. So yeah, errors happen. But I was going to say that's because humans are still involved. No. The errors, the AI will hallucinate. Humans will make errors. It's kind of the same. And they call it hallucinate, and I'm not really quite sure why, because it's just errors. I mean, yeah, it does some crazy things sometimes. But I mean, BMX Simulator, original game back in, God, what year will that be? 85. The cover illustration. If you actually look at the second bike rider, he's only got one leg. I mean, you can see why he's in second. And if you look at the picture closely, you go, hang on, there's a leg missing. An artist drew that. AI didn't get involved, but the artist missed a leg. So yeah, AI makes mistakes, and it requires a human to be there. I mean, when I was doing all the scripts, so to do a script for one of these things with me and ChatGPT, it takes a couple of days. But I'm reading absolutely everything, and I'm regenerating things, and I'm checking. And then when I put questions in, and the things like asking about Putin, Winston Churchill, how would you deal with Putin? I thought, I'm probably not going to use this one. And I got the answer back. It's like, oh, I am using this one. It's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then I asked him how you deal with Zelensky, and then what he would say to the rest of the world, and all this kind of stuff. And he's got some great answers. It blows my mind when I'm playing with it and going, it feels like I really am interviewing Winston Churchill. And that's when I can just see text. Then Andrew and the others add all the visuals and the face animation and everything else and the real voice, and it's like, oh my God, it is quite staggering. So yeah, so lots more coming, and I hope you like it, and do please have a play with it. And if you spot any mistakes, please just let us know, and we will fix them really quickly. More questions? Any more questions? Nope. Should we wrap it up there? Thank you very much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it.